Hey everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Listrak Innovation Unleashed in 2025. For those of you that are fans of Where's Waldo or Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, we have some new items behind us that I will not actually mention what brands they are from or which they are. You guys can kind of do the figuring out of what those were. But my name is Jake Pizzini. For those that don't know me, I am the VP of AI and Revenue at Listrak, and I am joined by my esteemed colleague, Allie Naughton. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, but boy, I got to tell you, driving in, it was cold. Like, Outcast and Hey Ya, the only thing cooler than being cold, ice cold. I think it was -5 or -7 degrees, my car said when I was driving in today.
Oh, yeah. Freezing out there. Freezing
So the only thing, that's cold, but we're going to, get the hot takes rolling in here. So excited to get started for everybody.
Yeah, 2024 was definitely a mixed bag for clients. Inflation was high, so spending on essentials was really where people were putting the bulk of their spending, and anything that required kind of extra expenditure, people were really trying to figure out how they could stretch their dollar. So we saw anything in the essentials industry seeing pretty good results in 24. Non-essentials definitely had to be creative from a spend and pricing perspective. And then we also saw experiences grow, which a lot of people that's where they want to put that extra expenditure into things like concerts and travel and stuff like that. So definitely a big mixed bag as we think about how 2024 shook out and looking into 2025 of some similar trends that we're seeing going into the year.
On my side, I would say 2024 was really the first full year out of the pandemic.
Yeah.
All those economic pieces that you mentioned, also the election, it really has come out that brands have found out that consumers really just want an easy, simple, integrated experience.
Yeah.
There is just so much going on in their lives, constant clutter, not enough time in the day. They want to see the thing, get the thing, and then enjoy it. And honestly, one of the main pieces of it is that everyone still has their passions.
Yeah.
Yes, the dollar is stretching thin. It's hard for us at the grocery store and for consumers and all of that. But everybody still has that thing that they want to escape from reality with.
Yeah.
Whether it's clothing, whether it's video games, whether it's outdoor stuff. People have their passions. And so it's like the tremendous thing is we've actually seen that our brands, even in that situation, many have had tremendous success. So actually, for the first time ever, we did a client survey inside our platform.
Yeah.
We had hundreds of responses. It spanned, I think, over 10 or 15 different verticals. And one of the most exciting pieces of it is 90%, and I'll repeat that again, 90% of the brands that responded to the survey said that they are above expectation for 2024. I think a key piece of that is those hyper-individualized cross-channel experiences because people still have their passions. They still want to spend money on things that will bring them joy. And it's like if you can show them the right thing in the right channel and help them on their journey, you can have a lot of success. So
Yeah.
it was just awesome to see how, even where inflation's up and everybody's saying whoa and whoa about the economy. It's like, brands that are doing it right are really having some great performance.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I know in that survey we had some categories that we saw really exceed goal in general. That was around like beauty, home, outdoor, auto, things of that nature where they really exceeded goal in terms of what they had planned for 24. So I know as we look into 25, that's interesting. And one of the other questions that we asked in that survey was, what are you leaving behind in 24? So things you really want to focus on and kind of what is in the rear view mirror, and batch and blast emails was one of the key things a lot of people said, which to your personalization point makes a ton of sense. People really want to get to that one-to-one personalization and work smarter, not harder in the communication that they're sending to their customers.
We just talked about how brands had a lot of success in our platform in 24. Are they expecting that success and greater next year?
They were definitely more conservative looking at 25. I think that has a lot to do with uncertainty in the environment of how their businesses will be impacted by that. But about 44% think that they'll be flat, so like on goal for 2025, and 41% plan to see a slight increase in goal. So I know in retail that year-over-year number is critical, but it seems like a lot of people are being conservative in how they're forecasting 25.
Yeah, that makes sense. There are a lot of factors having to do with inflation in this coming year. About 30% of the responses of the brands said, hey, we're really consumer confidence is a big concern. Inflation's a big concern.
Yeah.
The geopolitical situation and tariffs and such. So a lot of uncertainty coming, and I think that that's what goes into where you're saying, hey, they're being a little more conservative for this year.
They have no control over a lot of those factors. So when planning for the year, I think people are taking all of those points into consideration in order to be thoughtful of the growth their brands will have overall. I know in general the tariffs are a big thing that people are concerned about in terms of their sourcing of materials. So not even just that they get their products from some of the countries that have been talked about with tariffs, but also like the materials they get to make their products no matter where they're made. So like big brands like P&G are talking about sourcing steel from India instead, so they can try to like almost diversify where they're getting some of their product and sourcing from, so that if they do have increases in tariffs, they're trying to avoid that in some capacity. So a lot of big brands planning for uncertainty, even though they have no idea what's happening.
Okay, so wow, that's great information. So lots of stress, lots of ambiguity out there. Sounds like, in the words of Teddy Swims, everybody feels they're about to lose control, right? But so instead of being so negative on it, let's go on to the positive. There are still a lot of things our brands can control.
Yeah. In the survey that we did, we had, must have been like 6 or 7 buckets of asking our clients what their focus areas are. The largest bucket, so 23% of clients talked about acquiring new customers, which makes sense. A core fundamental of business is adding more customers to your business. But in Listrak, there's plenty of ways that we can help with that in terms of having pop-ups on the website in order to acquire some of those people, building landing pages, so no matter where that person is. I know we'll talk a little bit more about omni-channel strategies, but maybe it's a store QR code that you can use a landing page for and acquire some of those customers. A lot of levers you have in the tool and capabilities that we're able to provide in order to help in some of those really critical goals and focus areas our clients have.
Yeah, when working on acquisition, the AI components of Listrak are really the core arrows in the quiver, so to speak, that brands like to use. Like, so someone's come to the site, you've now acquired them, you know who they are, you know what they've browsed, what they're looking at, what they're interested in. We want to hit them right away with that personalization. Dynamic content in their messages, the personalization with product recs, even incorporating other pieces that you know of content that they've been viewing, things that will help them along their journey, bring them back to the site. And when acquiring a new customer and doing that, we've had brands actually see that with those personalized experiences, they drive 20 to 25% better conversion in that next following week after they've established that brand reputation.
Totally agree. Personalization is going to be key in order to really scale some of the smaller teams too, in order to talk to that one-to-one consumer. The other thing that we saw in the survey as one of the top 3 focus areas is repeat purchasers, which also leads into personalization. But it also ties to the fact that loyalty was actually the #1 tech stack change we saw in that survey as well. So when you think about how people are investing and thinking about their program for the new year, in order to drive more of those repeat purchasers, they have to make changes or really invest in a program that's going to help them more with that as well.
Completely agree. And actually, loyalty is a really hot topic, and it's something that brands are getting great use out of with us.
Yeah.
Take this example. Hey, Allie, use your 500 points on the red dress that you were checking out this week for a $20 savings before your points expire next week. Like, it is completely hyper-personalized. Like, it includes who the person is.
Yep.
Something that they had been looking at.
Yeah.
How many points they have left. What savings they get from using it, and a timeliness element of that's going to expire,
yeah.
Right? So it's like you're taking something as like, oh, okay, I was going to send an SMS message to someone, like, let's just have a flow that sends them an SMS message, and maybe it talks about the last thing they browsed, and there's just not a lot there, right?
Yeah.
But then when you know who the person is, you mention the amount of points that they have and can use, the savings it gives them, and give them, hey, it's going to expire soon. That's 4, 5, 6 different personalized dynamic elements. Literally every piece of the SMS is hyper individualized. So then when you see it, it resonates to you. You're like, oh my God, I got these points left. I need to use them.
Yeah.
And wow, I was just looking at that urgency. I can save this 20. So it's like that type of stuff is where you get to the next level. Everybody is sending email or sending SMS, but being able to integrate everything, you have such rich data
Yeah.
about these customers and all their loyalty programs and other initiatives they're in with you. So to include that in the SMS, seeing great results. I think we had a brand do something very similar to that and literally had 150% higher click-through rate when every one of those elements was personalized to when it wasn't. And
Yeah.
it sounds so obvious. Of course it does better.
Yeah.
Well, not everybody does it, and not everyone can do it. But
Yeah.
those are the types of things brands are doing with Listrak that's really driving the performance.
Speaking of loyalty, I do want to touch a little bit on our Listrak 2025 predictions. So we are kind of coupling that with the survey, but what we foresee really changing this year, and it's three main things. We really believe that this year will be the year of the conscious consumer, and we'll get into a little bit more of that, but the consumer just being smarter and really trying to make sure they're making the best decision possible in purchasing. The second being the transformation of loyalty programs. So we spent a little bit of time talking about that, but we've seen huge brands relaunch loyalty programs last year. Brands who don't have them, I think that's going to be table stakes this year. And you'll probably see more of that change with experiences and things like that. So we'll continue to dive a little deeper there. And then the last one being the rise of click and mortar, which we chatted a little bit about in our Q4 recap that we did. But really making sure that omni experience is going to be core for clients as more and more brands open retail locations and more consumers really want an experience when they go in store.
Really great to have those three aspects, and maybe let's dig a little deeper, peel back some layers of that onion. So the first one, the C twice, C squared. Talk to me a little bit more about the year of the conscious consumer. What can brands do around there to take it to the next level?
Yeah, so we'll even tie that back to the fact that people are paying more for essentials, but deals, value means more than ever this year. So it meant a lot last year, making sure that you were discounting from a perspective of people want to stretch that dollar further. But also when we think about what they care about, they're okay paying more for it if they have more transparency from a brand perspective. So that's things like the quality of your materials. Is it worth them paying more because they know they're getting a better product? Or the sustainability of your brand. Are you following guidelines that other brands aren't, that people are willing to pay more and invest in your brand for? That's a big thing too, of just transparency from a business perspective. Especially last year, I kept reading a lot about it. It was the year of the dupe, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. If they feel like the quality is the same as something way cheaper, they're going to buy that. So how can our consumers really think about, or our clients even think about, how does that end consumer look at their brand and either be more transparent in why they should pay more, or be very conscious about the discounting strategy that they have, which ties into some of the other loyalty pieces.
And that's a little bit of the conundrum too, right? Because conscious consumer, inflation, economic pressures, all that kind of stuff. But literally, if I know the brand that I'm getting and it's not some random, foreign brand that I can't even pronounce because it's not a word and it's just letters, right? It's I will pay for it. I just need to know that value and know what's there. And I'd actually prefer to, and I think most consumers would, when they just need to have that brand trust and know what's really there.
Yeah, they're more educated. They want to be able to make the right decision, and if they pay a little bit more because they know they're getting something in exchange, we just need to be able to actively communicate that and also showcase why.
Your second one was on loyalty. We touched on loyalty a lot. I think the only piece that I'd potentially add in there is that Listrak partners with tens of loyalty providers, right? I was looking at it, and there were over 1,000 data points and custom attributes coming over from all of our different loyalty vendors through various brands. So, everybody that a brand has, we can take it in, we can use it. That's really exciting. I'd like to maybe more focus on your third point, the click and mortar, right? Can you elaborate a little bit on that and give some tips and tricks moving forward?
Yeah, in Q4 we talked a little bit about this too, around the fact that really 2024 is the first year we're starting to see normal growth as we think about in-store experiences. So obviously with pandemic, in-store had kind of seen a decline, and now it's kind of back into its smaller increase. in terms of store traffic and revenue. So what you'll see with that in general is more and more people will focus on the experiences of stores, and that is because the younger generation really values that. So we're going to see a lot more where we need to, from a marketing perspective and from an e-com perspective, stitch those experiences seamlessly so that the people who are in store have a great place and way to say, sign up to your lists, grow that acquisition pool. Two being they can really get more detail about products. So things like looking at the PDP, where when I'm in store, I really get the experience of touching it, feeling it, using it. But I want to know who has reviewed it, have other people used it, and I can get their information. Maybe I need specs on it that aren't readily available in store that I could get all of that from the website. So this omni experience is continuing to rise, and the more and more we can rise to meet that, I think the better the brand's execution will be.
Completely agree. And the other aspect of it, even just from the other side, so we have brands now that are using us for email, SMS, and then have the app push, and have in store. And so imagine this. We were just talking loyalty and your points and expiration, and knowing that, you looked at a red dress or whatnot and you have certain points left. Well, if we know that you browsed the red dress, we have brands that through their location services know when you've now entered their store, then it's instantly sends you an app push, hey, the red dress that you were looking at is actually over in this aisle. Go look at it, and you have your so just crazy integrated experience of a real connection with the brand, a real connection with your, anything about you, the loyalty, et cetera. So when you get in there, to your point, it could be seeing PDPs, while you're looking at the product and getting more information. But even knowing what you were looking at home that got you to go to the store, and then being able to help you get to that product, help you with an offer for that product, a bundle, or someone who liked this, maybe go over to this section of the store and check this out too, right? Yeah. And I think we can, this is maybe a little bit down the line, but imagine when it's a personalized in-person experience where it's like, hey, go speak to Sam behind the counter, and they will help you, learn more, right? So it's like then getting to that place of even integrating in the internal store service element to tailor. It's almost like you walk in and you're treated like you're, Bon Jovi walking in because they know who you are and you get that personal experience.
Yeah, I would say, interestingly too, so on the account management side, I've seen a lot of clients who, if you have in-store data and e-com data, we obviously can ingest both of those in our tool, and we can have strategies based on what kind of shopper you are. So if you are e-com only shopper or an omni shopper or an in-store only shopper, you probably are using multiple channels, whether or not you convert in one channel or another. So we can do really interesting things where we're modeling data off of things that are like in-store purchases. So we know that some brands, I'll give like a home brand where they, obviously furniture is more specific to be an in-store purchase. More people are more comfortable seeing it, sitting in it, touching it before they purchase it. They know that's an in-store purchase, so you can almost personalize to those people specific categories you're trying to drive them to store for. So a lot of cool examples that people can really use their own data in order to personalize this omni experience and what they already know to be true about their different customer bases. So very interesting stuff, and I know that it's going to be a much bigger thought process to brands who have been a bit more siloed previously.
Looking at the time, that probably wraps us up around now. Thank you so much, Allie.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot we covered today, so we'll be releasing a white paper with the results from the client survey as well as our predictions. So by no means do you have to scribble notes down today. A lot more to come there. And then we'll do some webinars for our clients specifically on some of their key goals so that we'll be able to help them achieve those this year.
And wait, just like Orange Glow in the 1 a.m. infomercial, there's more. We're also going to have vertical benchmarks coming out for 2024 to pair with that. So thank you guys so much for listening in. We're super excited for the next one in a couple weeks. And this is Innovation Unleashed checking out.
Thanks, guys.